You're listening to Blue Please here on WoW Radio with myself, Total Biscuit. So now we get to the interesting bit of this particular venture that, well, calling it a venture is a little bit generous, one would say. Those of you who've just tuned in, well, you've missed like 3/4 of the show. That makes you very silly. However, I'll be merciful and I'll update you on what we're doing. Blizzard did a dev chat, which is disingenuous considering what it actually was, which was tweet us questions and we'll give you really short answers and then post them on the forum for no good reason. That's what it was. Now, there's a section here on MMO Champion, which is where I'm reading all of this stuff from, because it's just more convenient that way. MMO-champion.com. Raids and Dungeons. This is the third segment out of 4. This is where things get interesting. In a bad way. Mostly. First question. Love the steps taken to make high-end content accessible to casual players. I don't. Casual players? I'm sorry, but being a casual player does not excuse you from having to attain a basic mark of being good. Yeah? A basic level of skill. Just some basic benchmark. A little bit of a watermark. Just something, a hurdle that you have to get across. Because if you don't, then it's pointless. It serves no practical purpose anymore. So I'm sure you love it, but then again you suck. Whoever you are, you anonymous moron. How committed are you to continuing this? Answer. This is something we talk about on a regular basis. And I hope it's in the context of, oh god, these guys are so stupid, look, they want more and more for basically doing nothing. And doesn't it suck that we've got to appease them in order to keep them subscribed to our game? There isn't a line in the sand that we've made. It's more on a per piece of content basis. We do like the way the regular modes are shaping up to be more casual friendly, while the hard modes are a way to reward very hardcore play. What's the difference, man? Man? Dude? Bro? What is the difference? Tell me. The difference is, it's not casual versus hardcore, it's good players and not good players. They can be casual or hardcore. There's plenty of bad hardcore players. I've raided with several of them. More than several. There's plenty of good casual players. I mean, for God's sake, we're setting up a 10-man guild to do 10-man hard modes. Now, hard modes was for the hardcore, but we're only raiding twice a week. That's it. That's all we're doing. And yes, I'm going through the apps this weekend. I'm going to be contacting various people to have a little bit of a chat so we can get it all set up on Masrigo EU. And get on the 10-man stuff. So, what is that guild exactly? Is that casual guild? Is that a hardcore guild? Where do you draw the line? What's the difference? You're not even defining what a casual and hardcore player is, so why cater to either if you don't even know what they are? I've said it before, that casual and hardcore don't really exist anymore. The lines are just so blurred, the entire definition is utterly meaningless. So, I don't know why they decided to make this arbitrary divide. Can't we just have, well, this is suitable for players of a certain skill level, and this is suitable for players of a higher skill level? Not say this is suitable for casuals. Because that gives people the idea that all casuals want is easy content they can face roll their way through. Some of them do. They're called entitled casuals. They want loot for basically doing nothing. And will complain and whine and espouse the wonders of their social life. In fact, they're in a bar right now, posting on the WoW General forums. Surrounded by beautiful women. No, actually, they're spending more time spurging out on the forums than they are playing the game, which is ironic, I must say. A little bit hypocritical as well when you think about it. Like, I'm a casual player who spends more time complaining about being a casual player than I actually do playing the game. Yeah. Smart. Rewarding good play. Let's reword that. You know, whoever's responsible for typing this needs to talk to someone in PR. Not me, because I am a PR disaster, as everyone knows. Talk to someone and say, here's what you say. You say, we like the fact that the regular modes are more suited to a wider selection of the player base because they are not quite as hard as the hard modes. But of course we can't say that because that's going to offend everyone. Oh, you're saying I just do easy content? I pay my subscription like everyone else. Shut up. Harden up. Seriously. Just say it. Say it out loud. For God's sake, you called it hard modes to begin with. So why say, it's hardcore play? No, it's not. It's players who are good versus players who are not so good. And then you have binary hard mode, so you go from not so good all the way up to really, really, really good. Don't refer to it as casual and hardcore. It's a bad idea. You're using nebulous terms, and that leads to nebulous development practices. And then you don't know who you're aiming it at. Next question. Old War had one kind of hard mode, Triggered. TOC had another, TOC versus TOGC. That's Trial of the Crusader versus Trial of the Grand Crusader. Oni has none. What will Icecrown Citadel have? Icecrown Citadel's hard modes will be triggered, but via an in-game UI, much like how you toggle between normal and heroic modes today, rather than triggered by game mechanics, like not killing the 3 drakes before you attack Sartharian. Okay. It's not really creative, is it? What do you think about it? I understand why they would want to get rid of the way that they trigger hard modes in Old War and, of course, Sartharian, because they're very weird. They're not always clear as to what you're doing. Although I must say, if anyone has the skill level to attempt any of those hard modes, then they really also should have access to Wowhead. Or any other number of resources available to them. Let's be absolutely and completely honest there. Why would you need to explain that? But, again, it's not a battle I'm willing to fight because it's such a minor issue. I think it is a little bit sad to see the creativity going there. It's like, you've turned on the orbital defenses, blah, blah, blah. I don't suppose you have to not get rid of that, when you think about it. You don't have to get rid of it. You could still have it, but it will be activated via a click menu. And then you get the cutscene right there, and it's like, are you sure you wish to activate hard mode? Okay, it's like, you've broken everything, everything's going to blow up and explode and all that other nonsense. Something along those lines, at any rate. Now, what else have we got? For cross-realm looking for group, if the group is composed by members of other realms, do they have to go on foot, or will they be teleported? The current plan is for players using the LFG system to be automatically teleported into the instance, similar to how Battleground queuing works today. This is active on the PTR now, and we plan to host a community event around this feature soon. A community event? Such as what? Can't imagine what that's going to involve. Like, we have found warriors from other dimensions! Please don't do that. Don't you dare. That's way too meta. It's horrible. Yeah, cross-realm looking for groups an interesting idea. I can't really imagine why I'd want to find new and exotic idiots to group with. I'm quite happy with our run-of-the-mill native idiots, thank you very much. At least I know what they're going to do. And I can expect a certain level of stupidity, a certain baseline. Otherwise, you end up getting your illusions shattered of what they're capable of. It's like, oh wow, they've descended to a brand new depth of exotic stupidity. That's thrilling. Oh. Ow. Please don't make me. I won't be using this feature at all. Because I will have a guild. And if I don't have a guild, I won't be playing. So I don't care either way. Next question. With Tier 10, are we going to see tokens like in Old War or like CC? CC style had every class and spec rolling on the same thing. Wow, really? Ugh. Well, I suppose that makes sense when you think about it. It's not really a big deal. Tier stuff's always been really boring. That's the point. All the way back to Tier 1. It's like, it's a teardrop. It's not as good or exciting as this. Like, it's an Arcanist robe. Great. It's not a robe of volatile power. That's way more interesting. It's not like a set of curtains, but whatever. Tier gear's never been interesting. And I don't see people's obsession with it. Like, we can look like this. Yeah, you can look like everybody else. So why don't you pick some other stuff? And the tier gear you know is not going to be as good as the non-set stuff anyway. Anyway. Answer. With Tier 10, we're going to be seeing a hybrid. The Tier 10 items, the ones with the item level you'd find in the 10-man instance, will be purchased with Emblems of Frost. Hang on a minute. So let me think this through. So, the purchasing with Emblems of Frost. So you're giving out Emblems of Frost for doing the 10-man as well. Well, I hope the 10-man's as challenging as the 25-man if you're going to give what is effectively equal level emblems. Now, here's the interesting thing. The tier 10.5 items, the ones with item levels you'd find in the 25-player raid, will be obtained by getting a token that is specific to 3 or 4 classes, much like the Old War tokens, and using it to upgrade the tier 10 item that was purchased with the Emblems of Frost. So you need the tier 10 in order to get the tier 10.5. Okay. I don't really have any opinion on that, honestly. I mean, it seems sort of pointless. I'm trying to think as to what the purpose would be. There really isn't one, is there? No. No, I'm drawing a blank, honestly. If you know the purpose of this particular change, then yes, send me a tweet or an email or a PM on IRC, because immediately I can't think of any rationale behind it. I mean, I suppose it works, but that's really about it. I suppose it works like anything else does. Ugh. Not a clue. Not a clue what they're trying to achieve there. But whatever. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Just make them drop like they used to in Molten Core. Everyone will love that. Next question. Will there be any more epic storylines with cinematics like the Wrathgate questline? I certainly hope they're not like the Wrathgate questline. We have big plans for additional in-game cinematics. We are happy with how the Wrathgate questline worked out. Want to do more lines like this. No, 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 no. I suppose you can be happy with the questline, but you can't be happy with the final quest. Surely you can't be happy with that. I mean, the cinematic was fantastic, and the lead-up and all the preparation, that was great, but the actual quest itself was ass. Think about it. I've already explained why it's bad on last week's show. I'm not going to repeat myself. I'm just hoping they've learned from that. Next question. May I create a group with 4 friends and then use the LFG interface to gain the random dungeon reward? Yes. In fact, you can join it with a full group of 5 and still get the random dungeon reward. The reward is for doing a random dungeon, not necessarily having random members. Okay. I suppose. So what, it's going to teleport you to a random dungeon? It's like, roll the dice, see if you get Oculus. It's like Russian roulette, only more painful. Next question. Crowd control is all but dead in raids. Is that something you plan on bringing it back? Like, say, with the Faction Champions encounter in TOC? Congratulations, Blizzard, you did one encounter that actually requires crowd control. That's not impressive. Every encounter used to need it in some way or another. At least the trash did. You took out the trash. That's where most of the crowd control happened to begin with. There's barely any crowd control in Ulduar. That's really sad, honestly. I would like to see more CC, because I don't like my abilities getting redundant, and I'm sure no one else does either. Next question. Are there any plans to open other Sanctums in Wormrest? Obsidian Sanctum, Azure Sanctum, Emerald Sanctum? Possibly. With that stupid square smiley. Well, thanks for that. That's very informative. Why even say it if that's all you're going to do? Ugh. Next question. Are hard modes going to get anything to make them feel like a different fight visually or auditory? I find the hard modes very different visually, much more like black and white IMO. What the hell does that even mean? Ugh. That's even nonsense. Yeah, they're gradually getting a little bit more insane as we go down here. Well, some of the fights, if you think about it, are different visually. I mean, if you look at not XD002, that's really not different visually, but Mimiron, that's very different visually. Lots more light shows going on. I'd like to see more of that. That would be kind of cool. The more stuff goes on, the better. Again, Flame Leviathan, great example of that. Next question. Any chance that the hybrid system that is going to be implemented for Tier 10 could be retrofitted to all Wrath of the Lich King raids? So this was actually asked after the announcement of the Tier 10 hybrid gear acquisition system. Answer. I'll take that as a good reaction to the Tier 10 system. However, unfortunately, it won't be retroactively applied. Okay. Well, it doesn't really matter anyway, does it? I mean, there are instances with different systems in already, so I don't see the problem. Next question. Will 10-man raiding guilds see epic quality weapons, items drop in their raids anytime soon? No. That's the simple answer to that. Our plan is to reserve them for 25-man encounters. We won't rule it out in the future. Any plans to use a gating system? Just trying to get this done quickly. Yeah, there's probably going to be a gating system in Icecrown. Boo and hiss. And the last question. In the future, will hard modes have greater fidelity like Soft, Soft plus 1, Soft plus 2, Soft plus 3 rather than binary, normal / hard? Generally, we have learned that hard modes should be more binary. Then you have learned nothing. At all. No, hard mode should not be binary. Binary hard modes are terrible from every possible design perspective other than this will save us time. That's the only good design perspective that you can view that from. Yes, it's good because we don't have to work so hard. It's not good for everybody else because you get a stupid stratification of the player base. Like, one here, one there. Massive great gap between the two, and a huge chasm that most players can't even attempt to leap over because there's no bridge at all. There was no progress there. It's either you get to this benchmark or you get to all the way over to this benchmark, and most people are dissatisfied with the lower benchmark but can't jump to the higher benchmark because there's too much of a gap between them. How do you bridge the gap? Non-binary hard mode. Soth 1, 2, 3. Freya 1, 2, 3. Flame Leviathan 1, 2, 3, 4. Yogg plus 4, 3, 2, 1, and 0. That makes sense to me. That should make sense to everybody else. Why does it not make sense to Blizzard? That I ask you. You're listening to Blue Please here on WoW Radio. With myself, Total Biscuit. Well, I suppose it's time for some live Ask the Murloc. I would suggest you get in the channel, because the Murloc may respond to your piffling remarks. I can't guarantee it, however. We shall see. It's time for
Ask the Murloc.
You, bees, leave my domicile at once! You will listen to the Murloc's every command! Relish it as the sweetest nectar, suckle upon the teat of my every word. No, buzz is not an acceptable response to this command! Oh, it's you. Excellent, a new target for these infuriating bees! The Murloc sees you brought in piffling lesser concerns, far beneath my monolithic wisdom. That is to be expected from such inferior creatures. Consider yourselves infinitely fortunate that I don't obliterate you at this very moment. The Murloc is, however, too busy. Yeah. These bees must be brought in line, so let us have at it before I tire of your insolence. What is this nonsense? These questions that you bring to me on this horrible rolled up paper covered in what appears to be bacon grease. Don't you have any concerns for your health? Well, I suppose no one really cares if you die at the age of 27. In fact, better still, rid the world of your rotting carcasses this very moment. Continue to scoff down the bacon grease. That is the Murloc's wish. The Murloc's command. Dear Murloc, I'm not sure which is better, a mage or a warlock in terms of PvE. Can you help me decide? Ha! By the looks of you, wretch, you couldn't handle either. It would appear you have the intellectual capacity of a prepubescent gnat. Not to worry, though. The Murloc is sure he can find a use for you. Possibly in this soup pot. Actually, no. By the look of you, you're far too dirty. Ah, you would poison it! Corrupt it with your filth. The primary role of a warlock is to make a mage look good by comparison. You see, warlocks are basically the same as mages, but dumber. They're like the Diet Coke of magic, the margarine of magic, just one mana point, not even enough. They even require a pet to keep their DPS even semi-competitive, as opposed to mastering the powers of flame, ice, and the infinite energies of the arcane. The Murloc suggests the Warlock Community College instead. Literally anybody can get in. Better still, they give you a crutch pet to help you along the entire way. I'm not sure how a Void Walker benefits your primary DPS ability, however. The Summoning Stone, which brings in allies to do the Warlock's work for him, while he whines about his poor economic conditions and failed potential. Yes, you look like one with the potential to fail, so enroll immediately. Good lord, look at all these morons. I see it scrolling. They hating. I see them typing dirty. The Murloc is not impressed with your flippantry. There are 182 piffling peasants inside this tiny little white window. How do they fit? How do they defy the laws of physics? Perhaps that is something that the Murloc can harness for his gain. An infinite source of power. Ah, yes. A super weapon mounted atop the Murloc's mansion with an infinitesimal firing arc of doom. Look at them nonsense. Look at them laugh. They think I jest. They would be mistaken. The Murloc never jests when it comes to matters of taking over this pathetic, piffling, peddling, peasant planet. Pah! Dear Murloc, I am a holy priest who has just started my raiding career. I have been taken on by a hardcore raiding guild that have told me that I can have a trial to see if I'm good enough to heal their raids. In your infinite wisdom, Murloc, can you please give me some advice on which spells I should use and how to make sure I leave a good impression on my guild when I heal my first 25-man raid this weekend? Well, I can tell you how to leave a lasting impression on your guild. It's quite simple, really. All you have to do is set them all on fire. Then let them burn and hear the screams in your mind. Let them reverberate around your peasant skull. It's not like the Murloc skull. The Murloc skull has superior acoustics. The echoing, the howling, the screaming is so delightful. And you shall never get to experience it, you inferior creature. I'm surprised you people can even remember to breathe. Priests. So caring. So vital to the livelihood of their fellow raiders. You'll be pleased to hear that Blizzard don't much care for that sort of thing and have made Shadow the best healing spec. The best approach is to take absolutely no aggro reduction talents of any kind, as they take away valuable points from other more important things. Also remember that it is absolutely appropriate to pull with the Shadow Fiend. After all, if hunters can do it, then why can't you? Raiders may complain that vampiric touch is not sufficient to keep them healed, particularly since all of their druids spec balance, but they are weak and flaccid. Show them who's boss, and if they die, it's their own bloody fault. Nonsense. Absolute piffling nonsense. Raiders these days, I tell you, the Murloc used to raid Molten Core solo at level 47. And that was only to make sure it was fair for the Molten Destroyers. Lord knows if I'd raided at any higher level, the Molten Destroyers would have been annihilated. It would not have been any sport. And never let it be said the Murloc is not honourable, and wise, and powerful, and sexy as all hell. Now get out of my house! These bees require more training! Ha-ha!
Ask the Murloc.